Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar brought to you by Shared Services Links and sponsored by Sidetrade. Today, we're going to be looking at GBS success at NielsenIQ and everything you need to know about customer payment behavior. My name is Sarah Fain, and I am the head of content here at Shared Services Links, and I'm delighted to be joined today by some expert and really lovely panelists. We have Sue Bracken, the Global Finance Director of NielsenIQ. We have Chris Gunning, the Global Enablement Lead at FinOps at NielsenIQ. And Matt Hill, Solutions Consultant, Northern Europe and America at Sidetrade. You, of course, have a very important role to play as well today, and that is just to make sure that you get your most out of your time here. The beauty of live events is that we are here to answer your questions, and we really do hope that you submit them to us. The best way to do so is using the question functionality, which is usually over on the right-hand side of your screen. And if you put your questions to us, we'll be able to take them in about the last 10 minutes of the webinar. Just to preempt some of the most commonly asked one, yes, we will be able to share the recording and the slides of this webinar. So please do look out for that. And if you like what you hear, please do get in touch. We love to hear from you. Share the word on LinkedIn, get in touch with the speakers. We love it. So just a little bit of context on why we're here today. In difficult economic times, one of the ways that shared services really shine is by optimizing working capital. But that is a little bit easier said than done, particularly when it's difficult to help manage and predict supplier behavior. So we are going to be looking at a really interesting story where NielsenIQ really turned around some processes which weren't giving them very visibility to give them high levels of visibility and predict supplier behavior in a way that I hadn't actually really thought was possible before. So we're going to be looking at their story and how they partnered with Sidetrade and how they used GenAI to help predict payment behaviors at both macro and micro level. We're going to be looking at why traditionally our reports just maybe aren't quite enough these days, and the importance of live data visuals. And looking at efficiency, experience, and effectiveness. So with that, just a quick look at the agenda for today is that we're going to be looking at first managing customer payment behaviors. We're going to be looking at Amy, a Gen AI powered order to cash platform, and how technology is enhancing those three E's, particularly experience. And then we'll have, again, time for Q&A at the end. But first, we want to hear from you. So I have a few poll questions coming up. The first one is, has your GBS invested best of breed technology overlay support to your core ERP and platform? So again, are you using just your core ERP, or are you using some best of breed technology? So yes, you have fully implemented. Yes, you are currently investigating the planning phase. No, but you're considering it for the future. No, you solely rely on your core ERP and platform, or you unsure, or just maybe not applicable. So again, we will be sharing these results live, so love to see lots of you voting. So it'd be great if you could pick the option that best matches your situation. I'll be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's share those results. So this seems to scale towards the bottom of the curve here. That 30% of you say I'm sure not applicable. 23% rely solely on their ERP. 30% so you haven't implemented these, but you're considering it the future. And the minority have 10% are currently investigating and planning, and just 7% have fully implemented and integrated. So interesting results there. And I believe I have one more poll coming up before I hand you over to our experts. And that is, if your GBS has explored optimizing order to cash processes, which are the primary priorities? So again, you can click all of that apply here. Are you looking at prioritizing order management, invoice delivery, EIPP, credit risk management, credit collections, or cash applications? So which of the technologies or optimizing processes would be your top priorities? Again, it's really nice to see what other people on the line say. So we'll be sharing these results as we close the poll. So please tick the option that best matches your situation. I'll be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1, and that is coming up on your screen now. So the winner here, 79% are credit collections, 54% are prioritizing cash applications, 33% are credit risk management, 29% invoice delivery EIPP, and 25% on order management. So interesting to see a very kind of clear winner there. So thank you so much. We do love to hear from you. And with that, I will now hand over to our first speaker, Sue.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Sarah. So welcome to everybody today. Really lovely to see you on this webinar, in which I'm going to talk you through some of the NielsenIQ journey on managing customer payment behaviours. This is something that is so critical for every single organisation now. First of all, I'll start off telling you just a little bit about NielsenIQ. Hopefully you all know about us, but tell you some of the history behind us, where we are with O2C today, and where our journey began. Before I share a little bit with you around the vision, the selection, and the PMO process of integrating such a system as Sidetrade. So, NielsenIQ, well, what do we do as an organisation? We are the world's consumer intelligence company. So actually, from a NielsenIQ perspective, we are telling our clients all around consumer intelligence. There are 3 things really that we bring to our client. There are many more than 3 things, but the 3 things that actually really are enablers for our client is we tell our clients what is happening. We are delivering insights using our data to all of our clients. So we can tell them what's happening, and we can tell them, more importantly, what to do about it. And that really helps our clients to understand their business and anticipate what to do with their business, how to grow and develop their business. The full view is at NielsenIQ really what we do when we're engaging with our clients. If you talk to our clients, and there are our clients around the globe, on all of our different product categories, there are 8 different product categories that we're managing. So we have great insight and intelligence across the globe. We've got 100 years of industry and analytical expertise. And so therefore that puts us head and shoulders above everybody else within this place. To share with you a little bit of insight about, why in order to cash are we working so closely with our working capital and managing our working capital. We operate in over 95 countries. We've got over 25,000 clients globally. You can see there just a little bit about our organization. NielsenIQ is the original big data company. You can imagine having diversity like that actually, when we think about our finance operations hub, when we think about GBS, there's a span of control that we have within our organization that really is significant. So within our finance operations hubs, what really happens, if I give you a little bit of insight into the journey, we've got hubs that are set up around the globe. So Pune, based in India, is our primary hub, and we have several spoke hubs that are based around the globe. And that's obviously required because, as I said, we're supporting our clients in many, many languages. We predominantly have SAP as our ERP, but like most organizations, we also have other ERPs. So we've got smaller ones such as QuickBooks, Navisions, other ERPs to support our business. One of the important steps that we took along our journey was the introduction of GPOs, so Global Process Owners. Those were introduced in 2024 because actually, as a global organization, standardization is key to our success. to give you a little bit of insight around what is it that within the finance operations team that we're doing. Well, first of all, there's over 600 of us around the globe, as I say, supporting the finance function. And we're doing everything from controllership all the way through to FP&A, your AP, order to cash, tax, commercial, enablement, revenue insurance. Everything that you can think of within a finance function is supported within the FinOps hubs that we have today. So therefore, when you create a structure like this, clearly one of the objectives is around making sure that we can articulate how we're responding. It's not only is it insight for us as a team to be able to understand how we're working together, but actually it's really key for the organization to understand how we're performing. So NielsenIQ acquired GfK circa 15 months ago now, and so therefore we've got two very long histories that we're bringing together, and we're coming from two different places. And there was SLAs, KPIs, OLAs in different structures within both organisations historically. But actually, what we needed to do was very quickly accelerate the visibility of the SLAs and the KPIs. And we needed to do this to be able to set up the measures that hadn't been in place previously. And it's really key. So if it's not something you're doing within your organization, I would really, really encourage you to have a conversation around how you can bring in these measures to be able to articulate how you're performing. It also ensures that dependencies are flushed out. You know, it's really important now that you can understand not only SLAs and KPIs as part of a GBS, but also the OLAs, so the operating level agreements that you have on other departments. But we really need to capture the global and regional performance. So as I mentioned, here at NielsenIQ, we operate in over 95 different countries, and to be able to articulate how we're performing in each of those countries, we have it split into regions, and then we have the regional reports before we have the global reports. So we look at ourselves through multiple different lenses. So let me talk a little bit about O2C within the GBS environment and where we are today. So over 300,000 invoices are created each year within our billing teams. And as every organization, we look at how are we billing that. Now, you'll see that our clients range from very small clients to clients that are 80 billion revenue a year. So we have a breadth of clients, and we need to work with all of those, and we need to work in a consistent manner. We also challenge ourselves on distribution. All of you that are involved in the O2C process will know more and more governments are pulling in controls around how invoices are distributed, how you have to report them. And it's really key that you can measure those and you've got a high degree of confidence in what's going on. If you think about collections, then again, everybody that is involved in collections and payment behaviour of clients knows the very best way is to build relationships with clients, have that personal touch. And that can be quite challenging as organisations, we are all looking to automation. We're all looking to AI to do the job for us. That personal touch, however, is quite often the thing that gets you to the top of the list when you're working with your clients' AP teams and you want paying. Here at NielsenIQ, we operate over 1,200 bank accounts, and that is a challenge in itself. We're managing in dozens and dozens of different currencies. So being able to track how and when clients are paying us, being able to make sure that the cash is being applied on time, so that actually the dunning process is a process that stands up well, can be quite a challenge. Yeah, so let me talk to you just a little bit then about, well, what do we focus on when we talk about KPIs within O2C? And some of these will be very traditional. You'll all be very, very familiar with them. Your DSO, day sales outstanding, you'll all see it. You log into Google, you can look at how people are performing. You can look at the measures as well. But really it allows the benchmarking between clients, understanding what's really driving clients, and enables us as well to understand how we're performing in the marketplace. You're invoicing. So absolutely, when you're in the order to cash cycle, when you're looking at client behavior, you need to understand client invoicing requirements, because if you fail at that, then you'll fail at each, and it's a domino effect. Days billed outstanding and days unbilled outstanding are also key focus areas for us here at NIQ, and being able to measure them and therefore calculate the impact to DSO on them. Hopefully, many of those will resonate with you as O2C leads, as people that are interested in understanding client behavior, because it is these messages that really allow you to start to think about, okay, how do you optimize working capital? Working capital is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and you believe that every organization really needs to be ahead of the curve when managing working capital. So when we started on the journey, we had a drive for change. We were really at the beginning where we had inconsistent processes across our organization. We were managing credit control and dunning in a very unstructured way, and that was challenging because our clients often interact with us in multiple different countries. And having that differential in approach created, if you like, a perception that we as a single organization didn't have awareness of what was going on. And that's not where we wanted to be. And that's absolutely not what we wanted our clients to have confidence in. We had a commercial team that, being quite open with you, were quite cautious around our finance teams interacting with clients, and you're always a little bit nervous about, will we be professional? How will we uphold it? Electronic invoicing, they were minimal, and when you think back to that number of invoicing that's going out from an NIQ perspective through a year, it's key that we can automate now. There was no way that we could really, without copious amounts of Excel documents, be able to articulate what disputes did clients have with us and why. The why is always the relevant part of the conversation, isn't it? Reporting was sporadic, as I say, and there was little engagement or understanding of what we were doing. But overarchingly, we had a requirement to unlock the cash that was tied up in our processes, that were tied up due to the fact that we were inconsistent in our approach. So therefore, that meant that we were seeking a tool. We were seeking to work with a partner that could come in and support us on the journey, but a tool that allowed us to remain in control. So one of the things we were really looking for was a workflow tool, and you met with many companies and chose Sidetrade to partner with here, because one of the things around Sidetrade is the fact that you remain in control. What we wanted was a workflow-driven process. So we needed the ability for us to be able to see what was going on at all times. There were some points that were really, really key to me. So being able to see how our clients interacted with ourselves versus other suppliers. This is an extract. This is not NIQ data. So what this is showing you at the top, you'll see that there is 56 in the top left, and you'll see 46. And what this is doing is this is using AI, and what it's telling you is how are your payment terms and how are your payment behavior versus the same behavior that your clients have got with their other suppliers. This is really informative because it allows you really to guide your commercial team as and when they're asking you around payment terms. It allows you to see how your clients are paying through with you as well with other suppliers. Now, it relies on data, and it relies on the data that Sidetrade can gather from all of the different platforms. It is anonymous, so you can't drill down into it and see anything more, but it's a really good high-level indicator that keeps you true on how are you performing. The aging profile as well. You, as organizations, I think many of us still think in very traditional kind of current 0 to 30, 30 to 60, and absolutely you can build the platform like that, but you can adjust the platform as and when you need to see what you need to see and what's relevant to you. Dispute management at a glance. So over on the right-hand side of this screen, you can see the pie chart there. And that enables you to see at a glance what your disputes are. Again, the disputes are not prescripted by Sidetrade. You can put in there what are your disputes. Now, we all know there's going to be the POs. We all know that there's going to be the kind of the types of traditional disputes. But actually, one of the times that this was incredibly valuable to us as an organisation was as COVID struck, because actually it enabled me to, within moments, be able to create a dispute type with COVID associated when our clients were telling us that they couldn't pay us because of something released to COVID. And that enabled us to really get ahead and be able to interact and be able to articulate succinctly to all of the relevant stakeholders what the impact was. So this is flexible, and that's really what I'm bringing over to you. The ability to anticipate future performance using trend analysis. All of us now, we don't, looking in the mirror is helpful at times, but actually we need to be looking out of the windscreen. We want to see what's coming rather than what's being. So the ability to anticipate the future is what every organization is looking for now. As we were building with Sidetrade, as we were thinking about what do we actually really need to do, one of the things was sharing the vision for building the cash collection operation. So as I say, there was a little bit of trepidation across the organisation about what would it be that we would do and how would we go about it. It was really key to introduce Sidetrade, and Sidetrade is an intuitive tool, but actually allow the organisation the ability to see what's going on. We also looked at demonstrating that a focused credit control team can really enhance the operation. And when you're engaging with your clients, actually, as I say, it's about building relationships. So you having that engagement with our clients, really making sure that everybody understood that what we were doing as NIQ was taking control of our working capital and being very open with those conversations, and whether that's internally with stakeholders, whether that's externally, having that honest, open conversation. That also avoids when any organization starts to really focus in on managing working capital, people will start to read things into it. So being open and saying there is nothing here other than we're taking control and managing our debt and our working capital. Making sure that we had local finance teams fully engaged with what you're doing, sharing information with stakeholders. So along the platform, it was really key for us to be able to allow people to engage. So being a SaaS solution, there's no limitation on licenses, there's no limitation on how you build it, but making sure that we've got complete knowledge transfers, making sure that we've built good customer portfolios, allowed us as an organization to start really working with our clients and understanding what our clients were going to do. But also making sure that actually our credit control team, these are the professionals that use this tool day in and day out, can influence how we build Sidetrade and how we build the tool, making sure that they could understand the information that we were creating. So we had the vision, we had selection, and then we went into how do we actually then, from a PMO perspective, create this. So what we needed was something that really we could trust and was reliable. We wanted something that offered data insight. Now, Sarah very kindly introduced me as the global finance director. So I want to see what's going on in the globe. So I can log into Sidetrade, and I do log into Sidetrade every single morning, and I can see from a global perspective. And that's very, very advantageous, especially as every organization, you're across many, many countries, out of many locations. As we're running the organizations now, having that view is so helpful to me. But actually, my team leads, my credit controllers, my credit control managers all have their Sidetrade platform structured so that they see what is relevant to them. We needed global standard processes. And, when you're looking at client behavior, this is one of the strongest pieces of advice that I will give to you. A client will behave according to your processes. So you need to understand what their payment behavior is and how to influence and change that. But you also need to be able to develop workflows that have the flexibility for you to change that as businesses morph. We also, as I say, we talk about the touch of a button. So honestly, I think all of us now are so used to logging into tools in the morning and thinking, okay, well, that's nice. But actually being able to see, being able to drill down, being able to get to the root of what needs to happen this day, and creating structure was the requirements from an organizational perspective that we had. So then really focusing into structure, why? Why do we need structure? So one of the things that we developed here at NielsenIQ was actually a way to categorize our clients and understand our client payment behavior. And we could build that into Sidetrade. So we adopted a very simple methodology using a RAG status, where every time the system is updated, we will automatically get an update on the client payment behavior. So we categorize our clients. They are red if they're usually 7 days beyond the contractual payment terms. They're amber between 0 and 6 days, and they're green if they always pay on date and ahead of terms. And you will anticipate that what our vision is that we'll turn red into amber and amber into green until ultimately we have all of our clients green. But actually, our workflows have been adapted to reflect how the client pays. So within structuring our workflows, if we've got a client that is consistently paying beyond terms, then we will start processes earlier. We will do proactive reach outs. We will also make sure that we've got them in the to-do list that is created for the credit controllers on a daily basis. The workflows here, and you'll see in the collection to-do list on the left-hand side, is really what your credit control team will see as they log in. It's the structure of the day. And it means that then the team leads, the managers, everybody that has an interest can actually see what's going on and how it's going on. It's predetermined by yourself as you're setting up the platform as to what you want to be able to see. And you can also see that Amy, the AI tool that is within Sidetrade, can take the categorization and be able to automate how you need an AI tool to work for you, which means that actually your teams are focusing on the big things, but you've always got control. You're reaching all of your clients in a regular, consistent, standard way, and therefore changing the way your clients behave. in the ability to design workflows and meet the needs of the organization, then actually what we do and as part of the PMO and as part of the project is we had copious conversations about where did we want the personal touch versus where we were utilizing digital letters. And we built those digital letters, so they're NIQ terminology, they're the way that we interact with our clients. But actually making sure that we could build it so that we had the regular touch points that we wanted and needed for our client base to be able to change the behavior. One of the things that I will really call out is, like every system, you need to invest the time in making sure that you've got the right contact details. This is a portal, which means that your clients will log into the portal. They can log into the portal. They can download their invoices, so you don't need to deal with the topics of conversations of not received invoices, etc. They can put comments in there. They can tell you actually if they've changed departments and are no longer the relevant contact. And you can keep everything up to date within the organization. But this really is just giving you some insight, and you changing client behavior. You don't jump from step 1 to step 50 in one go. There are steps that you take along the way, and by being able to amend your workflows enables you to be in control of how you are taking those steps. So as an organization, we had 4 critical success factors here. We wanted to engage and influence the entire organization with the why. Why is such an important question. So understanding what it was that was needed, setting targets, publishing the results, creating competition. Whenever you're in a sales environment, creating that competition is really good. So that's what we do. Being clear with the vision, making sure that we're building standard processes. Nothing is a surprise anymore, whether it's to internal stakeholders or to our clients. Nothing should be a surprise. Selecting the right solution for us as an organization, and that involved one that had the language capabilities. These were all contributing factors as to why we as an organization selected Sidetrade and how we began the journey of changing our client behaviors. And Matt, I'd like to hand over to you to talk the audience through Sidetrade in a bit more detail.
Fantastic, Sue, and thank you. Some really interesting insights there. And from my role here at Sidetrade, certainly reflected by other prospects and customers that I'm talking with. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a wintry morning here in Birmingham in the UK, and it falls on me to introduce you to Amy, our artificial intelligence, as well as the wider Sidetrade platform. So through this slide, what we're showing is how Sidetrade is helping organisations globally to improve their metrics, working capital, and operational processes, as Sue's outlined for us. On the right-hand side here, you can see just a high-level overview of the modules that Sidetrade offers. And a key benefit of the Sidetrade platform is that each of those modules interacts with each other, so that the data points are always being shared. On the left-hand side, you can see the range of technologies that are bringing in data from the ERPs, from the complex customer structures and topologies that we're encountering into the Sidetrade platform through a range of different methodologies. And as that data flows into the platform, what we're doing is we're augmenting that customer-owned data with insights from the Sidetrade data lake, which Sue has introduced us to. So what is this data lake? The data lake has been built over 24 years of Sidetrade's order-to-cash existence. And what it allows us to do is build a neural network of how buyers and customers interact with each and every vendor. As Sue's already mentioned, all of these insights are anonymized, but what it allows you to do is not only understand how your customers are paying you and those payment behaviors, but also how they're paying other vendors that they may be interacting with across the network. And that allows you to be both proactive and reactive in your order-to-cash technology, making sure that you're chasing the right people at the right time, making sure that credit risk is being managed in the most appropriate way, making sure that those all-important disputes are being understood and managed and predicted in advance so that you can react accordingly. And on the right-hand side, you can see just some metrics of how big this data lake is, and it spans the entire globe, all regions, all countries. So what Sidetrade then do is we take these insights and we take the customer data and we apply a principle that we call dynamic segmentation. So as this slide builds out, what you will see is that customers' own data sat within SAP or Dynamics, as Sue has outlined for us. There will be customer master data, there will be the sales ledger that sits within it. What you can do within Sidetrade is you can build and identify different silos of accounts that you manage as a finance team, and a whole platform is administered by the finance users. So that as data flows in and is added to by the Sidetrade data lake, you can define the different strategies across order to cash and the different templates that you want to use. And what Amy and the Sidetrade platform will then ensure is that each and every customer and each and every open invoice is then sat in the most appropriate bucket and being dealt with in the most appropriate way. That then allows the users to focus in the way that you want your users to focus. So Sue's talked to us about key accounts and the importance of building that relationship. Absolutely, Sidetrade allows your users to focus their energies and efforts on those particular customers, safe in the knowledge that other customers are being chased and audited directly through Amy. Where in the middle buckets here, you have a typical customer, for example, perhaps a hybrid approach is more appropriate. So allow Amy to automate certain actions, but where the collections process, for example, gets to a certain point, that's the point at which you want your users to engage, have a conversation, build that relationship, and perhaps put that customer back on the right track and get paid faster. What this also means through the data lake is we're able to use new technologies such as generative AI. And generative AI is something that has come around over the last 12 months. Certainly in my personal life, I'm using GenAI more and more. And what we're finding is that vendors who have generative AI will perhaps partner with an existing provider such as a ChatGPT or an OpenAI. We all hear about them. What Sidetrade has is through the data lake, we already have this insight. We already have these data points. So we've been able to create and generate our own large language models on our own generative AI, which can then be used by the platform and power Amy. So to give you an example, if you ask a more generic ChatGPT, for example, about a particular customer, and on this example, we're using Randstad, what you will get is very high-level metrics, very high-level data points around that particular buyer. So you will hear things like they are based in this particular region, they are using this particular revenue. These are all generic data points that that provider will provide you. If, however, you ask Amy about that particular vendor, and as these slides build, what you will see is that Amy, because of the data points that we're sitting on through the data lake, Amy is able to reflect pure order to cash metrics. So very targeted, very specific insights that allow users and Amy to interact more appropriately. So here, for example, using Randstad, you can see that there's 263,000 payment experiences sat within the Sidetrade network that a particular vendor can utilize. We're able to benchmark and tell you the commercial terms that Randstad are using with other vendors and other buyers within their network. We're able to tell you what portals that particular buyer uses. We're able to predict when payments, therefore, are coming in because of the insights that we sit on through the data lake. So what we need to do now is bring this platform to life a little bit. So what we're going to be doing is transitioning into a video, and what we'll show you is how the platform can help GBS and help other customers of Sidetrade to chase their debt, just as an example.
That's great, thank you. And if it doesn't show up, please just open up another window and go to webinar. You'll see it pop up behind yours.
I can see, okay, no problem. I can see smart filters. I can search across these invoices. I can group these invoices. I can add date filters. I can customize this view, save this view, so I can see exactly what I need to see within the platform. All of the data is in one place. I don't need to transition into different systems. So for example, let's drive down and have a look at this particular telephone call action that is being suggested that I need to do in my to-do list. Here I can see all the information I need in order to chase. I can see who my contact is and the language that they speak. I can see the areas of the strategy that have already been covered, as well as the areas that need to chase. So for example, where Sue's talking around pre-dunning actions, perhaps that would be appropriate here. I can start to capture the action either through manual text, but we can also use transcription services to capture things like telephone calls within the platform. I can see items and activity against these invoices, and again, more smart filters that allow me to drill down into a more granular view. I can see a range of values around these invoices, dates and values. I can even see a predicted payment date that Amy is giving me for this particular set of invoices. So now I simply contact the customer, maybe raise a promise of payment, and capture the action directly within the Sidetrade solution. And what Sidetrade will then do is update the subsequent dunning action. So we will react differently depending on the side group, the segment that we saw on the previous slide. I can then get confirmation that this action is being committed. But before I do so, maybe I want to drive down and have a look at the customer level insights. So here I can see further insights from the customer. I can see the contacts. I can see metrics, insights, data points from all of the Sidetrade modules. I can see exactly how this customer is behaving from an order to cash point of view. I can even start to interact with Amy directly through the platform to get advice and insights as to what to do next through the solution at the single click of a button. It's all about driving all of the information in front of the right user at the right time so that they're chasing or interacting with the customer in the most appropriate way. Bringing all of the data points together from Nielsen systems, as well as other customer systems, overlaying the insights from the data lake, giving you a very configurable platform to reflect your processes, your procedures, and your policies in order to drive out both the visibility and control, as well as increase performance from your users, as well as working capital improvements through the sweating of the sales ledger asset. I hope that's been of interest. I hope that's been of use. I'm now going to pass over to Chris, who's going to take us on a little more journey on the NIQ side.
Hey, I love that, Matt. Good morning, everybody. It's just as wet and windy and cold here in Amsterdam. I'm missing the amazing weather that I got to experience in our Indian hub last week. So thank you, Sue, for bringing us along the journey from a working capital and process perspective, focusing on customers. Matt, looking at the technology. I'm going to really talk a little bit about how the human aspect is such an important element of this as we drive through transformation in our GBS and in our finance operations cultures. So we can move to the next slide. There we go. So look, traditionally over in GBS, for years we've been talking about efficiency and effectiveness, taking cost out of the equation, driving better optimization to really be able to do more with less and be proactive, to really be able to scale, to be able to centralize, to be able to routinely automate those boring tasks. That's all well and good, but I think, going forward, when we're Sidetrade has really been able to help us in our journey to deliver value and to deliver business outcomes. Additionally, it's creating this amazing experience for our finance operations teams, and even just as importantly, our finance operations customers. It's no longer good enough just to be smarter and faster than the rest. If you're not creating an environment in your GBS where you're focusing on employee experience, where you're focusing on amazing, consistent experience for your customers, both external as well as internal, then you're not really going to be able to move forward. So again, bringing this back a little bit, when I talk to my peers and my colleagues in the GBS and the shared services industry, I see three emerging trends that I think, all of us should really be focusing on, as GBS leaders, wherever we are in the world, as we're driving transformation and setting up our GBS as assets to derive business value to the organization and create the most amazing culture. That to me is the most important thing. When you bring it down to people, we want to all set ourselves apart from each other. with the most amazing GBS finance operation culture. So over the next 3 slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about expand on the customer experience. I really want to talk about an emerging theme that I'm seeing very much in the shared services industry right now, and that's capabilities as a service, being at the center, at the heart of your center office, supporting the delivery organizations, and really the continued prominence of end-to-end process ownership and how that really helped us in our Sidetrade journey as well. So look, one of the things why, you know, experience really matters, and I want to tie this a little bit back to, you know, since we've implemented Sidetrade in our organization, you know, we're really starting to see less attrition. You know, we've brought you know, attrition down to just above single-digit level attrition, you know, around about industry benchmark, you know, and it's really about creating an environment that employees want to get up for in the morning and get excited and come to work. We want to drive engagement. You know, like many of you guys, we've just done the Gallup survey, we've done our Engage score. Our numbers are going up year on year because we as an organization are focusing on our people. Yes, the processes are great. Yes, the technologies are great. But, you know, in this day and age, if we're not focusing on upskilling our talent, upskilling our employees, you know, there's a great quote that I love to use. You know, it's from a guy, Eric Hoffer. In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. Guys, we got to be investing in talent. And I think the beauty of working with technology and partners like Sidetrade, our teams get to play with AI, they get to play with generative AI, they get to understand some of the latest and best tech. So who wouldn't want to get up for work in the morning and not go to the shared service centre down the road for 50 rupees an hour more, but really come and work with this amazing technology that we have in NIQ? Not just about experience. So I think really the emerging thing that I'm seeing within industries for many years, you know, for 20 years, finance operations have been very transactional, they've been very focused, going up the value curve, of course, within controllership. But really what I'm seeing, you know, as an emerging trend in some of the world's leading GBS organizations, and we here at NIQ are no difference, is really making sure that we support our amazing order to cash folk, our amazing collections folk with really good niche skills and capabilities as a service, where we can continue to drive value and can continue to drive business outcome. I almost see it as a left and right hand side of the chart. So, you know, some organizations call this process excellence, some call it continuous improvement. We're calling it really the enablement team to help drive our business better, faster, forward. And you'll really see on the left hand side of the chart, it comes back to experience. You know, I'm hiring amazing leaders who are focused on driving service experience, customer experience, putting in world-class knowledge management systems to drive collaborative creation across the ecosystem. Amazing onboarding experiences. You only join a GBS organization once, you know, and you have that wow moment. If you lose that wow moment, so I think, you know, again, to all of you guys out there in the world of GBS, you know, ignore experience at your peril. And then we see this amazing emerging trend as a niche capability. I'm now starting to hire data scientists. I'm now starting to hire mechanical engineers who are really focused on driving process insights, RPA, continuous improvement, getting their hands dirty with the technology, really understanding how we can get in, for example, and drive additional insights from the AI, the capabilities, the outputs that we're seeing from the amazing technology that Sidetrade has brought to the table. And I guess, you know, global process ownership has been around for many years. This is nothing new in the organization. But really, if it wasn't for global process ownership and really the ability to look an end to end that Sue very much drove in our organization 18, 24 months ago when we were implementing Sidetrade, we wouldn't have been a successful organization. You know, I always see the service delivery teams as the guys coming in, running the factory floor, the enablement teams making sure that the factory gets a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. But to me, the global process owners are looking at the factories of the future. Really what's out there in the world of tech. You know, we were able to identify Sidetrade as a leading product to really bring innovation to the table, to help us streamline, to help us centralize, and really bring these amazing processes to life with a focus on a working capital value creation and driving cost savings. So again, you know, working end to end, the global process owner shouldn't just be working within your GBS organization from order to cash or billing to collections. really the ability to work upstream with your commercial guys, with your sales guys, all the way downstream to your controllers in the business. I think that's where the power of a GPO can really play if they're going true end to end in an organization. So why did I say that, guys? Technology isn't the silver bullet. Technology is important. Thank you, Sidetrade. It's amazing. But guys, don't forget to keep the human in the loop. Something that we hear a lot with AI and generative AI as well. But it's so it is with any technology and implementation. So yes, emerging trends are important, but remember the classic back to basics hold true. 70% of all technology implementations fail because of lack of attention to change management. Change management is a fine art. Don't over rely just on the tech. Have your humans in the loop to drive comprehensive training, to really work with your stakeholders, to take your stakeholders along the journey, holding their hand, to really be able to make sure that they overcome that resistance to change. None of us are very comfortable with change. You know, inherently, many of us on this call and the webinar are finance people. Typically, us accountants are the worst at change. I'm a CPA myself. So really being able to help take our customers or stakeholders, employees along the journey and driving through the change, being adaptable and building trust and collaboration is so key. So, you know, again, whilst you're going through your technology implementations, be it Sidetrade or any of the other amazing enablement and technology in the world of record to report or FP&A or procure to pay that might be out there, don't forget change management. So I'm going to wrap up here because I'm mindful of time. I want to give some time back to you guys for some questions for our amazing panelists here with Sue and with Matt. But, you know, guys, remember, as you are going forward in your GBS journey, remember technology is so key. We're moving at a rate and pace of change these days that's like nothing else. You saw the AI capabilities. Why not let's grab them with two hands? Focus on experience, drive capabilities as a service in your center office, and really focus on end-to-end process ownership. So I'm going to leave you with just a couple of takeaways on my next slide, which is really, you know, you guys signed up for this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Sally, Susie, and Sarah for having us, for setting up this amazing platform for us to collaborate. Hopefully you've learned a little bit today about customer payment behavior. You know, we in NIQ are very proud of what we've done and being able to implement Sidetrade to drive transformational change right across the business. It's helped us get to standardization, centralization, you know, really leveraging the centralization, but upskilling our teams. You know, nobody wants to be focused on just doing transactions. If we can upskill our teams to spend more time problem solving, focusing with customers, talking to customers. One of our NIQ principles is being customer obsessed. And we take that within our GBS organization as well to drive a customer-centric value and approach, which will really help with our understanding on payment behavior. But all, of course, of this is only investment. The investment in time, investment in people, and investment in technology. It's only good if we're delivering value to the bottom line. So the amazing thing is, and we heard the reduction of DSO, the improvement of DPO, Sidetrade in this implementation has really been able to help and unlock working capital for us. So a real, true business value and outcome, freeing up cash. So Sarah, I know we've got 5 or 6 minutes left for questions. I'm going to give you the keys and control back to you, and hopefully we've got questions.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I've learned an awful lot, you know, through all this process with rehearsal. So thank you so much for a really fantastic presentation. I'm going to go to questions, but I'm just going to put a little poll question up. You can take it if you want. If you actually want a bit more of a demo on the Sidetrade Cortex platform, you can take this. But I'm going to go to the first question in the meantime. Sue, because you mentioned some metrics, I'm going to go to you first, but I'm going to give everyone else a chance to chime in as well. And the listeners asking, what key metrics should organizations focus on to measure their success? So Sue, I'd like to hear from you first, and then maybe then Matt, then Chris, if you want to chime in as well.
Okay, thanks. Well, key measures, when you think about your order to cash, a day sales outstanding, you very much understanding the metric that sits within there. Also, your days billed outstanding. But one of my personal ones is overdue percentage ratios. So make sure you understand. When you think about a credit control team, there is little influence that they can have on the payment terms that might be agreed with the client. But what they absolutely can do is make sure that the client adheres to their contractual payment terms. So those are the key ones for me.
That's great. Thanks. Matt, Chris, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think from a technology point of view, things like effectiveness indices, so being able to measure the effectiveness of different actions against different customers across order to cash, and then learn and understand which action to trigger at the right time in order to maybe bring that payment in sooner. I think that's really, really useful to have with the platform.
That's great. And Chris, any thoughts on metrics?
Yeah, I'm going to round that off by building upon that. One I already spoke about was the focus on people, making sure your engagement scores are going up year on year to ensure that your teams are engaged and working in an amazing environment. But also our customers. Are you measuring their NPS, their external NPS? Are they happy customers? Because, our collections are part of that. Are we getting the bills out in time? Is it a nice collection experience? So measuring your external NPS, but also your internal NPS are great metrics to figure out whether you're creating that right environment of collaboration and customer centricity.
That's good. Thank you so much for really thoughtful answers there. Another question's come in. I think it's quite an interesting one about why technologies fail. So let me read it out, and then I'll think about who I want to put it to first. Listeners mentioned, as you mentioned, a lot of technology. I think Christy mentioned, 70% of technology implementations fail. You mentioned generally because of change management. But in the short term, they recognize that they have to improve efficiency. There's more customers coming in a collections team, and they need to be more customer oriented. So I guess they're asking what they can do in the short term, but I suppose it's also about, well, what are some of the things that you can do if you do implement technology to avoid the common pitfalls of failure. So I guess, so Matt, because you see these implementations all the time, I might go to you first on this about what do you think is really important to do in the short term to make sure implementations go the way they should?
Yeah, I think for me, two things spring to mind there, Sarah. I think from a change management point of view, it's about bringing people in early and explaining why technology is coming and how it's going to help and enable them, because that then gets them thinking, and that then links into having a platform that's very, very easy to configure and owned within the finance function, not having to go back to vendors, not having to go to IT in order to change something, being able to have something that you can grow as you feel comfortable, so that you're walking before you run. And over time, you can then build in new things, turn up AI, building new strategies that can then be used with your customer base.
Thank you. I mean, Chris, because it was your point, do you have anything to add, and Sue as well?
Yeah, I think also going back to basics is just understanding your process. Process mapping. Your processes. Where can you take out waste? Where can you make things efficient? You don't always need technology. I mean, technology can certainly help, but if I understand the question, what can they do immediately? Just get in a room and process map out your processes and see which ones are efficient, where there's duplication. There's smart things that you can do. I'm sure Sue's team does this every day, so she's probably in a better position to answer than me.
Yeah, and absolutely, both what Matt and Chris say resonate. You understand what it is that you want and you need, understand your starting point, and know that a system is a system. It will enable you, but you need to spend time thinking about what you want and need from the system. And it's not a silver bullet, as has been said. So make sure that you understand your ground point. There are many things that you can do and should be doing just as best practice, but actually really embracing the change and empowering the teams.
I think that's a really great point to end on. I appreciate we're at the half hour, which marks an hour, which has absolutely flown by because the content was so great today. So I just want to say a really big thank you to Sue, Chris, and Matt and all the people behind the scenes who put a great presentation. And thank you to all the listeners for some really insightful questions, for answering the polls. I know we all live busy lives, so thank you so much for making the time today to attend a live event. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much. If you have any questions that we didn't get to answer, we hope to get back to you, and we look forward to welcoming you next time. So thank you all for a really great session, and goodbye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.